I'd like to call the order Sparks Planning Commission for January 19, 2012. First item on the agenda is roll call.
Roll call. Commissioner Lee?
Here.
Commissioner Bowles?
Here.
Commissioner Peterson is absent. Commissioner Sanders?
Here.
Commissioner Sperber?
Here.
Assistant City Attorney Doug Thornley?
Here.
Community Services City Planner Armando Ornelas.
Here. Next, we have public comment. Any item, anybody in the audience wish to speak on any item, either on or off the agenda, please come up. You have 3 minutes. And Janet, would you go ahead and start the clock, please?
Okay, hold on 1 minute.
No, I don't.
Not anymore?
Okay, go.
Yes, hi. My name is Kathy Brandhorst. I'm also Lisa Marie Presley, John Benet Ramsey, John Steele, and I'm also the United States President. I just wanted to briefly tell you, I own a house on California Street in Reno, and I also own a house here in the marina. Each time I try to get back into my house, I am filled with bullet holes. They are desperate for a place to live, no matter where I live. They have to shoot me down. They have to destroy me in order to steal my houses or my apartment. It doesn't make any difference where I move to. They still shoot me down. I do pay rent now. I'm at the Sundance Motel, but they still don't leave me alone because I pay my rent. They come here across the border from Mexico. They need a place to live. They do not pay rent. They cannot afford a place to live at all. They are also not getting a job because they cannot work here. They cannot be here in the United States. So they will steal U.S. jobs and payroll checks in order to live here in the county or wherever in the United States. They will continue to murder because I was working at McDonald's. They blew my brains out because they needed a job. They needed that payroll check. They're not going to stop anywhere until we can put our finger on the point. What's the problem? The problem is existing in every city, every state that I go to. They ask me, what's the problem about Mexico coming across the border? Well, they steal automobiles out of here. They're bank robbers. They want to steal everybody's bank accounts, including mine. And they want to make us so poor because that's what Mexico is, a very poor country. They don't have a house to live in. They live in rocks. They live behind rocks. They don't own clothes. So they have to abide by stealing out of the United States material in order to make clothes, make shoes. Not even that, they have to steal the shoes out of department stores, out of department stores.
Thank you very much.
Clothes,
thank you.
too.
Is there anybody else in the audience that wish to speak on any item either on or off the agenda? Seeing none, next we have approval of the agenda. Motion?
I move to approve the agenda as is written.
We have a motion to approve and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion approved. Next we have approval of the minutes for December 1st, 2011.
Move to approve.
Second.
Before we do that, I have one correction on that, Madam Secretary, and that is, you were here at that meeting, weren't you?
Yes.
You were not included on staff?
Okay, thank you all.
So with that correction, we do have a motion to approve in a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I think, Doug, you were sustained, or needed to sustain, you were not here, and Barbara?
Yes.
Abstain, yes.
correct?
That's correct. I was not, and I should be abstaining.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do you have those, Madam Secretary, down?
Yes.
So we cannot approve those, Doug, minutes without a quorum?
Quorum, okay.
Yeah, that's kind of an interesting problem. I don't think you can approve those minutes without a quorum. So,
So we can just bring them to the next meeting?
yeah, so why don't you get a motion to
Continue.
continue?
We have a motion to continue the minutes till the February meeting?
So moved. Second.
Okay, we do have a motion to approve in a second. All those in favor say aye. Next, we have announcements and committee reports. Kim? Jim? Zero? Informational items? None? Next, we have public hearing out on PCN 11029 Crestgate Pyramid, and what we are going to do is we're going to continue this until the February meeting, but we will open the public hearing for the public, so anything you wish to state on this will be put in the record. Karen?
I just wanted to put on the record that this is a request for a master plan amendment to change the land use designation from office professional to general commercial, and also a request for a tentative approval of an amendment to the plan development for Crestgate Pyramid. A master plan amendment by state law requires that you have a supermajority, which would be with the planning commission of 7 members. It would mean that we'd have to have 5 members present, which tonight we do not. So staff is recommending or requesting that this item be continued until February 2nd, our next planning commission meeting.
Okay. Thank you, Karen. With that, I'm going to open the public hearing on PCN 11029. Anybody in the audience wish to come and speak on this item on Crestgate? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and bring it back to the commission for a continuance.
Looking for a motion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I move to continue the item.
Second?
Okay, any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Next, we have PCN 11034, David Masterson. Karen?
Good evening, members of the Planning Commission. I'm Karen Melby, Senior Planner. This is a request to change the existing zoning in a property zoned, approximately .18 acres. It's currently zoned R16, and they are requesting to rezone it to professional office. I just want to show you where the property is located. It's located on Pyramid at 924 Pyramid Highway. It is, as you can see from the arrow, the property there, which is R16, the yellow represents R16. It is adjacent to properties to the south, which are currently zoned PO. Staff is recommending approval based on the findings as set forth in the staff report. That concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Karen. Any questions for Karen? Seeing none, this is a public hearing, and open the public hearing. Anybody in the audience wish to come down and speak on this item? Seeing none, close public hearing, bring it back to the commission.
Mr. Chair, are you ready for a motion?
Actually, I have a question for
Go ahead.
Karen, or I assumed that the applicant might be here.
Would you come down, sir, please, and state your name?
Hi, I'm David Masterson. I'm the applicant for this request.
Thank you. My question really relates to sort of a confusion and timing. I'm not opposed to the proposal here, but I drive up and down Pyramid just about every day from my work to other places that I'm going, and I'm familiar with the property, and I know that you've done a lot of work, a lot of construction, and even signage that's there. And I guess I'm a little confused as to how that work could have been done and the signage could have been put up if we have not yet approved the zoning change?
Actually, I own the property next door, which is 910, that used to be the Make-A-Wish Foundation building, already rezoned to commercial. So that one's already been rezoned.
Right.
It's actually the property next door, and we've done nothing to that. I mean, I put a big gate and wall
So
around it.
where the construction has been done and the signage, that's not the subject property?
No, sir, it's the one right next door, north of it.
To the north?
Yeah, it's a little blue old house, and the one next to it, you're probably referring to as a red brick building.
Yes.
Yeah, all that was permitted and done, and that one had previously been zoned commercial, actually,
I
2
see.
years ago.
Okay, I saw your name, and I have seen your signage there.
That's beautiful.
And it's a nice-looking building, by
Yeah,
the way,
thank you.
so
But
congratulations on
that one has already previously been zoned prior to it being purchased, and all the work that was done there, was permitted
Thank you.
differently, yes.
That settles it for me.
Yeah, I'm still mixed up. So the other two properties are ones to the south or that you had worked on, or to north of this property? Do you know?
It's south of the property. Yeah, it's south of the
It's south,
property.
okay.
The pictorial that Karen put up shows an arrow directly above the blue. See the blue box there?
Yeah.
That's the one that you are referring
already worked
to, that I've worked to, that's already been zoned. And the one directly next to it I purchased 6 months ago, that's the one we're trying to do, and that one's been sitting there for...
Nothing's been done.
Nothing's been done. Okay,
Thank you.
that's it.
Thank you, David.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for the applicant or Karen? Seeing none, we need a motion.
Barb, you were in the middle of a message.
All right, if you're ready. I move to forward a recommendation of approval to the City Council for the rezone associated with PCN 11034 based on the findings Z1 through Z3 and the facts supporting these findings as set forth in the staff report.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion approves. Next, we have public hearing on CA 1-12, City of Sparks. Jim?
Jim Rundle, Senior Planner, here to present the code amendment, establishment of a code amendment by the City of Sparks. Within the last year or so, the City Council instructed staff to research a code amendment to potentially allow for mobile vendors, in the City of Sparks. Currently, mobile vending is not a permitted use in the City of Sparks unless you come in and get a temporary use permit, and then the temporary use permit does allow for the temporary mobile vending essentially for no more than 3 days. But then once you establish that, you can't do it on that site for another month, essentially. And that doesn't work for what people are trying to do in some of the mobile vending businesses. So we set out and had a public meeting with some of the mobile vendors and also with some of the established restaurateurs in the City of Sparks. We coordinated the restaurateur meeting with the Sparks Chamber of Commerce and made this proposal that you have in front of you today, or something similar to what you have in front of you today. There have been modifications made from the restaurateurs, and there were also modifications proposed by the mobile vendors. We considered all of the testimony that was provided to us through the public meetings, workshops, and took our professionalism and included their comments occasionally and didn't include some of their comments, but we did consider everything that was proposed. The ordinance that you have in front of you has some standards that I believe go without saying and some standards that I want to point out. 3 of the standards I want to point out that I think are important are that the mobile vendors will have to obtain a Sparks business license. Another one I want to point out is that it can only occur on private property and with the private property owner's permission. And the other one I want to point out is that if there is an establishment that has taxable sales, such for food, the mobile vending cannot occur within 300 feet of that establishment. the NRS reference that is included in the ordinance is a NRS reference referring to taxable sales. Recently, the City of Reno, I believe yesterday, went to this Reno City Council and approved an ordinance that is very similar to the ordinance that we have proposed. And that concludes my presentation, and I'm here to answer any questions.
Any questions for Jim?
Just one, Jim. I read the article about the recommendations that Reno approved yesterday, and that those were some changes from the original recommendations that they had made, and I didn't really quite follow what the changes were, but are there any significant differences in the way we'll be approaching this from the City of Reno?
No, I don't believe so. I believe that one of the significant changes that Reno made was amount of time that you could be set up in a 24-hour period. And I believe that it is the same as ours now at 4 hours. I think that was something they would consider significant.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so no other changes. After that meeting with the city, there has been, or City of Reno, this is pretty close to their ordinance now.
I believe so. City planner may have something to add.
Two things. One, I'm not sure that Reno actually approved it yesterday. Maybe that it's, they discussed it and it's still subject to a second reading of the ordinance at their next meeting. But
they do their readings differently than Sparks does.
Oh, okay.
They do their first reading second. We do ours. So they do their public hearing backwards.
Right.
so at any rate, I think one difference, as I understand it, is that we're proposing that 300-foot distance. I think they reduced that to 100 feet. But I think, given the particulars of downtown Reno, where you have a denser environment, I think there was a concern about that prohibiting vendors from a wide swath of downtown Reno. And then I think the other distinction, perhaps, is that they have, I think, a limitation on how late into the evening they can operate, although they would be allowed to operate 24 hours where you have 24-hour zones. So in our case, our proposed ordinance does not have any hours, any restrictions on the hours, other than the 4 hours within the 24-hour period.
No, that's good.
Thank you.
It may be worth mentioning that in projects, say in the residential area, if the mobile vendors were to service the construction folks that are working in a residential area, all of those residential projects are limited by hours of operation. So there'd be no reason for the mobile vendor to go out there when no one was there.
And just one other question. We talked about this a little bit on Tuesday. The impetus for this is food vendors, obviously,
Yes.
but the ordinance really relates to vendors of all kinds.
Correct. That's a good summation.
Yeah.
Right.
Any other questions for Jim? Seeing none, this is a public hearing, an open public hearing. Anybody on the audience wish to speak on this item? Seeing none, close public hearing and bring it back to the commission.
Can I make a motion
Mr.
here?
Sperber?
Okay, code amendments. I move to forward a recommendation of approval to the City Council of the code amendment request associated with CA-1-12.
Second.
We have a motion approved from Commissioner Sperber and a second from Commissioner Bowles. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Next, we have PHCA-2-12. Tim?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, Planning Commissioners. For the record, Tim Thompson, Senior Planner. Before you tonight is a request to amend Title 20 of the Sparks Municipal Code to change the expiration date related to the cessation of a use established by a special use permit from 6 months to 2 years. As Jim mentioned previously, the City Council has directed staff to look at some specific code amendments that might help to make things easier or streamline processes. This was something that was identified, particularly in the last couple of months. The Commission may remember a private school over on Greenbrae that came before you requesting a special use permit. Because of that situation, this was something that we had looked at to really, I think, try to avoid having that situation happen in the future. Essentially, what happens is when you have a special use permit granted, and you establish that use, you exist for as long as you exist. Once that use ceases for a period of 6 months, our code deems that special use permit null and void, meaning nobody could come back after that 6-month period and reestablish that previously approved use. What this proposal does is it extends that time period from 6 months out to 2 years. Given the economic climate that we're faced with and some of the feedback that we've received from the real estate professionals and property owners, we believe that this will help to give those folks a better opportunity to find another user to backfill and possibly take advantage of that existing special use permit. It's important to note that any new user who came in to utilize the approval would still be subject to those same conditions of approval. If they were proposing to operate substantially different, if they were proposing to change a condition or possibly couldn't meet a condition, they would still be required to come back through that special use permit process. And not to confuse this with the expiration of the use permit once it's granted, typically what happens is the Planning Commission will grant a special use permit approval. The applicant then has 1 year to establish that use. They do, however, have the ability to ask for a 1-year extension. That is remaining the same, and that does not change with this amendment. So any special use permit that is approved is good for a year with the ability to ask for a 1-year extension. Staff is recommending that you forward a recommendation of approval onto the City Council. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Tim? Seeing none, this is a public hearing. Open the public hearing. Anybody in the audience wishes to come speak on this item? Seeing none, close the public hearing, bring it back to the commission.
I'm prepared to make a motion for code amendment. I move to forward a recommendation of approval to the City Council for CA-2-12, an ordinance amending Title 20 of the Sparks Municipal Code to change the expiration date related to the cessation of a use established by a special use permit from 6 months to 2 years, and providing other matters properly related thereto.
I second.
We have a motion approved from Commissioner Bowles, second from Commissioner Sperber. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Tim. Next, we have general business. This is the time for election of Sparks Planning Commission officers for 2012. So I'm going to call for nominations for chair. You think I'm going to make I guess I can make a move, can I?
Can you make
Doug?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to make a move and put Commissioner Bowles on the ballot for chairman. Any other nominations for chair? Seeing none, I'm going to close the nominations. All those in favor of Commissioner Bowles as chair for 2012, say aye.
Aye.
There you go. There you go.
Congratulations.
Next, I'm going to open nominations for vice chair for 2012 for the Planning Commission.
I'd like to make a motion to nominate Art Sperber as vice chair.
Second?
Okay. We have a motion for Commissioner Sperber for vice chair for 2012 and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Congratulations, Mr. Sperber.
Thank you.
The review of the Sparks Planning Commission rules and procedure, we would like to continue this until we get our other commissioners on board. So we'll, I guess, continue until the February meeting.
Yes, we can continue it for the February meeting. I think we can have a discussion with you then to get some feedback from you in terms of things that you'd like to see us potentially draft amendments to, and then we can then bring it back perhaps in March and ideally after we have additional members or new appointees to the Planning Commission, and have you review those changes in depth and take action on them.
Very good. Thank you, Armando. Next, we have public comment. Anyone in the audience which you speak on any item, either on or off the agenda, please come up. You come up. You want to start the clock, Janet?
My name is Kathy Brandhorst, Lisa Marie Presley, John Benet Ramsey, John Steele, and I'm also the United States President. I just wanted to let you know, I never put up any of my properties up for sale or any of my houses at all for sale. Nothing at all. And also, I just wanted to let you know, I have the Smiths out there on Meadowwood area, and they are all sitting on stolen property. I have mentioned to them that they are sitting on stolen property, which is, I never signed no papers. I've never given anybody any choice, of selling it or putting any type of businesses or houses or apartments on my property. And so they're all sitting on stolen property because they never got my signature for any of this at all. So I'm thinking about, bombing the whole area because it doesn't belong to them. It's mine, and I have a choice, to do what I want to do with it. And so I just wanted to mention that, and I guess that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. You wrapped that up quick. That's what we like, Kathy. Any comments from the commissioners? Seeing none, we're adjourned.